Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the Forgotten Realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you while I'm there. Idle champions, you reset again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind, head out to Chull or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the Forgotten Realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you while I'm dead. Idle champions, you reset again. Idle champions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show, where I talk for like an hour and then people ask questions and I answer them. That's it. That's the whole show, folks. I'm Gaarawarr, and I will be doing the talking today. Just want to call out chat. Thank goodness for in-game alerts, or I would miss these every time. Same. Yeah. It's gonna take. It's a weird morning for me, folks. I was telling Mars before this that I just didn't seem to be able to wake up, and I blame it on the chalky milk I had for breakfast because it calms me down. That's not a thing. Before a stream, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't get calm. I should get excited, right? I should also get out of this adventure because today we're not going to be talking about regular normal gameplay. We're going to be talking about an event, folks. Today's guide is the Guide to Simril Year 5. So specifically this year's edition of Simril, because every year they're a little bit different. So this year in Year 5, we can see Simril here up at the top left. Yeah, my cursor is showing up. All right, that's good. Up at the top left, nowadays, it should be this way on all platforms. They throw the event at the top so that you can see it, because otherwise, it used to be at the bottom, but now we have so many things going on that it would scroll off the bottom. So they throw it up here so you can see it. And here we are. I feel like, am I the only one that wants like snow falling over the map? I don't know. That's probably unnecessary. So click on the adventure node, and it's going to show you everything that's available in Simril. Every year so far. Well, not every year, but every year for the past couple of years, there have been 3 available champions. It's only going to ever show, even though this is year 5, it's only ever going to show the most recent 3 champions. That's what you can unlock during the event. Anything from prior years is going to be unlockable only via a time gate, unless they give it away for free via a code or something. So here we are. Boom. The most recent 3. Krull is our year 3 champion, so he makes a return. Lucius, our year 4 champion. and Yorvin, our brand new champion for this year. We're going to talk about all three of these. But first, I want to talk just a little bit about events in general. Maybe preempt some questions. But if you do have questions while I'm talking, know that I'm not necessarily going to answer them live. The Q&A is for the second half of the show, but you can ask your questions live. Don't try to remember what your question was. Just put question, colon, and then space, and type your question in. And Mars, who's moderating today on the CD Games account, will grab that question and put it in a little document for me to see. And I will go through all of those in the second half of the show. So whenever an event pops up, events are time limited, meaning they're only around for 12 days. 1, 2, 7. Yeah, that seems right. We'll go with it. They're around for a short period of time. It should be 12 days, just a little less than 2 weeks of actual time. And they happen every 3 weeks. So from the start of one to the start of another is a 3-week period. So there's a short period of not having an event, but events happen a lot in this game. So it's something to get used to. It's something to learn how to do efficiently and effectively, because you're going to be doing a lot. This is how they introduce new champions to the game. So every 3 weeks, roughly, there's a new champion coming to the game. Sometimes the schedule gets adjusted. Sometimes we might get a little delay, like we did here, where it was 4 weeks before one. Sometimes it might be because they adjust the schedule again, and it's one right up back to back, right? But just, know that roughly the average is every 3 weeks. Because they are time limited, that means the only time you get to do these things is when the event is live. Once a year, you will get to play the event for these champions. The oldest champion will fall off the event list, so Krull will not return next year. It will just be Lucius, Yorvin, and whoever is the newest champion next year. So grab these opportunities while you can. That does mean the event, when it's up, should be somewhat of a priority for you, depending on how long it takes you to complete it. Newer players should make it their main priority. It's going to take you more time to complete the things in the event because your account just won't have a whole lot of power on it yet, and that's okay. We all started off that way. I've run multiple new player accounts, and man, sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 events to actually complete everything in an event in the time that's allotted. So just know that, even me on a brand new account doesn't always finish an event completely. That doesn't mean that you can't. Sometimes you can totally, if things work out right, if it's a certain event, sometimes you can absolutely complete 100% of the event. So don't think that you can't try out, use information like this to go out and try to get it done. For an event, not only is it time limited, it's token limited. So if you'll notice, down here in this description, it says costs 1,000 candles. What? Well, candles are event tokens. Every different event, for Simril, they're candles, but every different event has a different name. Candles are something that you earn over time. You can't farm them. You can't just go to a level and try to grind out more candles. They drop in-game when you kill something, but only once every 25 seconds. So you are limited to the amount you're going to get over the course of the 12 days the campaign runs. But never fear, that is enough for you to, if you do everything efficiently, for you to do all of the content that is available in terms of like the variants. Like, we see these. Once you do one of these adventures, it drops down 3 different variants for each, just like a campaign. Because in effect, an event is a miniature campaign. It's a miniature short-term campaign, which makes events great. They kind of teach you, they encapsulate everything that goes on in a campaign, or most of the things that go on in a campaign, and help you to learn to do your campaign stuff better too. So candles will accrue over time. There is one way to earn extra candles. Again, you can't farm them, but but you can earn extras, and that's with bounty contracts. Bounty contracts are consumable that come out of chests. So if you buy like gold chests, you get a bunch of, you can open them up and you'll occasionally get bounty contracts. There's different rarities. Each rarity gives a different amount of tokens. They also give some gold, but candles are kind of the best thing that you can get off bounty contracts. So keep that in mind. What else do we want to talk about? Each event, before we get into talking about these specifically, each event has its own type of favor that is available. So in this event, who's our... Shar's favor. There we go. The amount of Shar's favor. I'm like, who is the dark orb? It's Shar. I don't recognize all the symbols all the time. There's 17 different events in the game. I can't keep them all. So there you go. Shar's favor. Bam. I've got a bunch. The more favor, here's the thing. The more favor you can get, the more powerful you are, the more favor you can get. The more favor you get, the easier everything is. But even if you're on a brand new account, favor is what's going to unlock the ability to do all the things. So favor is kind of what you should focus on at first when doing an event. So when the event first pops up, these won't say free play. It'll be an adventure, and the reward down here is going to be the champion. It'll have the champion that you unlock, basically for getting to area 50. It's very straightforward. There won't be any restrictions. You just need to get to 50 and then, complete your adventure and you will get it. I do recommend when doing each of the champion unlock missions, even if you've already started, and this is good information for next time, push each one as far as you can go. Even if as far as you can go is just 55 or 57, because you're brand new. Grab as much favor as you can, because that's how you get favors, by pushing as far as you can. So do that, because then that makes the next run easier. And you want to push each of these, treat each of these like favor runs, and get as much favor as you can out of them, because they tend to be inexpensive comparatively. And then if you need to, you can go run a free play like these. Once you've completed and unlocked the champion, this then becomes a free play, like you see here. Free plays do have a cost. Everything in an event has a cost. So free plays start out at costing 500 candles. Every time you do one, the cost goes up by 500. But it caps at 2,500. So the highest you will ever pay for a free play is 2,500. Right, this is important because while you can spend tokens to do things, you can spend tokens to do free plays. The reward after when you do a free play is if once you complete area 50, you will get a random chest for the champion whose free play you ran. It'll be either silver or gold. So doing these free plays for these tokens is how you get extra gear for your champions. This is how you gear up your champions. There is one, there will be these variants. Each variant will award you, if you complete it, a single gold chest. A single gold chest. However, in the shop, in the cash shop, there are also chests available for cash, but also for tokens. You can spend 10,000 tokens to get one gold chest. I strongly urge you not to do this. I strongly urge, they are there for a reason, and I will explain why, but I strongly urge you not to do this. For 10,000 tokens, you could run 4 free plays. 4 free plays means you're going to get 4 chests. But here's the thing. The game guarantees you, I think the odds are a 1 in 3 chance you're going to get a gold chest. But they put in a pity timer. What's a pity timer? It's bad luck protection. And what that means is the pity timer is at 4. So that means that if you did not get a gold chest in your first 3 runs, your 4th will guarantee you one. So that means for those same 10,000 tokens that you might spend on 1 gold chest in the shop, you could get 4 chests, with one of them guaranteeing to be gold. All 3 of the others could end up gold if you had good luck, but with the worst luck, it's going to be 3 silvers and a gold. That's still better than buying a single gold chest out of the store. So Gaarawarr, why are there gold chests in the store? Well, sometimes you can't play every day. Sometimes maybe you go away for a weekend and you come back, and on Monday that the event is ending, you don't have time to do all the free plays and use up all of your currency. Well, in that case, instead of just being out of luck, you can go spend that currency in the store and at least get a gold chest for every 10,000 tokens you have saved up. So it's there is a bit of protection in case you just don't have time, right? In case you don't have time to do those things. And it happens, right? It happens. So keep that in mind, because once the event ends, the moment the event ends at noon on that Monday, noon Pacific on that Monday, all of your tokens go away. They get zeroed out. So you can't use them after that. So you got to try to use all that up before it ends somehow. At least get some use out of them, right? They're not going to stick around. They're not going to be there the next event. They're not going to be there the next time this event rolls around a year later. So use them or lose them, folks. All right, so let's talk about each of these. Basically, each champion has their own kind of event. They have their own formation, as you can see here. This is the formation layout for Krull. So it's nice and tightly packed, lots of adjacencies. This is a pretty solid starter formation. Pretty nice. Lucius, definitely not a starter formation, folks. This one's going to be a little harder with lots of, distant placement and some adjacencies in the back. And yeah, this one's going to be a little rougher. Yorvin, interesting. A decent amount of adjacencies, but still some spread. Still doable. So each champion is going to have their own basically event. This is going to load in. It's still the Simril Spoil Sport. That's still the adventure you're on. It's still going to load in all the same champion or all the same enemies. You're going to be fighting the same bosses. It's just the layout of the formation is going to be different. You will earn Shar's favor in all of these. So generally what people do is they look for like which one can you push deepest in to get lots of favor. Honestly, you're either going to have a lot of luck. You're probably going to have your best luck with Krull if you're a newer player with Krull's layout. Yorvin's would be second after that. I know it looks rough, but if you have some bench options, if you're not brand new and you have some bench options, this can work great. I personally pushed to like 1300 with this. Krull's super, and that just means that that's actually a solid formation for me. Not everybody's going to push that far. Krull's is better if you are brand new. The core champions that you start the game with can all work pretty well in this layout. Can all work, but they're not going to work well in this one. So that means you're going to do each of these and unlock all the champions. You're going to earn a lot of favor. You may push for your favor in Krull's. Get favor, because favor is going to make each of these variants doable. They're each going to have a difficulty rating. They start off, like deadly. And what changes them to easy and green like this is favor. That is the only thing it's looking at. It is very much you need to be this tall to ride this ride type of situation. It doesn't mean you're going to enjoy the ride, because there are restrictions that can still make it difficult, even though it says easy. It just means this is a time where you might enjoy this ride best. So giving yourself the best chance to do these is your ideal situation in an event, because each of these costs tokens to do. You can see that there's costs associated with it. The older ones are less expensive. The newer ones are real expensive, including up to 5,000 for the newest champions, third variant, right? So you don't want to risk it. You want to make sure you're giving yourself the best possible chance, and the way to do that is to get favor. There's a different breakdown. I put in my guides. I do an event guide for every event, and it links to champion guides for all the champions. The best way to know how much it's going to need is to go check that guide. I've got the breakdowns for exactly like when each variant's going to trigger and show as easy, roughly. I shouldn't say exact. The first variant, it takes about 20,000 favor, or EO4 favor, depending on if you're using scientific notation or not. The third one's about 15 million or 1.5 EO7. And the fourth tends to be around 150 million or 1.5 EO8. So looking at those types of breakdowns, that's kind of your goals. Sometimes it might be a little less. They normalized a lot of these over the years, but some of them they never went back and made the same as the others. So sometimes the favor trigger, like the difficulty rating trigger, is different. So just know you're looking for like EO4, EO6, EO7, and then EO8 or higher. I tend to say if you can at least get, if you can easily push and get E10 favor before doing variants, that's going to guarantee you'll smoke through all the variants. Because extra favor is going to give you extra power because favor gives you gold, and gold lets you buy upgrades. So, look for that if you can. But if you're having a hard time getting favor, hop in streams and ask for help. Actually, the best place is to hop in the Discord and the formations channel. Post your formation. Usually, it's coming down to like your formation. That's usually the problem when you will have when pushing and trying to get favor is maybe your formation isn't great. So let's talk about each of these variants, what their restrictions are, and maybe what you're going to need to beat them. So we'll start off with Krull, Spoiled Staples. The first variant always is a requirement of 75, area 75 to beat. The second is 125, the third is 175. When you're doing a variant, just complete the variant and then like get to 75, you beat 75. The little dialog box is going to pop up and it says, do you want to complete or continue? Just complete on a variant. It's only regular adventures and free plays that you want to push further on to get favor. The restrictions are going to make it not worth your time to try to get favor here. So 2 barrel wagons take up slots in your formation. This is the restriction. It is up to you as a player to read this restriction and understand if with this restriction, can you do it even if it shows as easy? Because sometimes you won't be able to. And this is one of those cases you might not be able to. Because they show you here, you're losing 2 slots in your formation. And these are prime locations. These are prime locations. Being down 2 champions is being down a lot of power. Each champion adds power to your formation. So this is a lot of power you're down. How do you overcome that? Extra favor. So you may want to wait until the second variant shows as easy before doing this one so that you have way more favor than you need and you can easily overpower the restriction here. All right. That's really the challenge here is just, do you have enough power to do without 2 champions? Master Plaguebringer. Krull starts in your formation and cannot be removed. So this is a time to learn how to use your new champion variant. Non-plagued enemies deal 100% more damage additively and move 10% faster additively for each enemy on the screen that doesn't have a plague on them, including themselves. What are plagues? Well, Krull's, we'll talk about Krull here in a bit, but Krull's main ability is to apply a plague to someone. So what they're saying is, any enemy that hasn't been plagued by Krull is going to do more damage and move faster. And it's the more of them that don't, the faster things are. So this is what I call a rush variant. Like, yes, it is a time to learn your champion variant, but the enemy restriction basically is a rush. You're going to be rushed, and they're going to try to overwhelm you with damage. So making sure that it shows easy is going to give you a good chance to beat this, but you basically, a little extra favor would be nice. It's always going to be nice. Just to make sure your tank is beefy enough to handle them beating on it and doing more damage, right? Because they're going to get there real quick because they move faster, and then they're also going to do more damage. So keep that in mind. The Creeping Chill is the final variant. Every 5 areas, the temperature drops by 5 degrees. This is in-game, folks, not in your room. I just want to be clear. I couldn't even keep a straight face through that. I tried. For each change in temperature, the enemies get stronger, increasing their health and damage by 100%. So this basically means the further you go, the harder this is going to get, right? Every 5 areas, their health and damage is going to go up by 100%. You want a lot of favor for this one, folks. If you're feeling worried about it at all, if you're having trouble doing 175 normally, probably not going to happen here. If it was just the damage going up, sure. But their health going up? They get tankier as this goes on. And this is 175, so you're going to go a ways. You're going to go a ways. So this may be one you might need E10 favor for. If you can't get there by the end of the event, try it. You know, maybe you'll do good. Maybe you'll do well. But just know you're going to need more power for this one. Because they're getting health. They're getting more health. That's the big problem. All right, for Lucius. So, no rest for the gifted. Only champions with a charisma score of 14 or higher can be used, and quest goals are doubled. Quest goals are usually like kills or pickups, and you usually need 25, so this means you're going to need 50. So what does this mean for you? This is a good thing and a bad thing. We'll talk about the bad thing first. The bad thing is you're going to have to sit there longer. This is going to take a while. It's going to, because you got to kill twice as many. The upside, which also means if you were barely staying alive to get the goal completion, you're not, right? So if your tank was dying right as you were finishing on a regular one, you're toast here, right? So having a little extra favor, a good deal. But you might not need it, because again, the good side of this, of doubling the quest goals, is you're going to earn twice as much gold on every level. Right, you're killing twice as many things. You're getting twice as much gold. That's going to help you level up. You still want it to show as easy. You may want something else to show as easy, because you're going to have to deal with this charisma score restriction. And that's no joke, right? Let me take a quick look. I've got a chart. I think I updated it. It's fairly updated for no rest for the gifted. Trying to check. Yeah, you don't have a slot. If you're a brand new player, you won't have a slot 1 or 2 champion. You won't get a champion until Nile in slot 3, Jarlaxle in slot 4, Calliope in slot 5. After that, you'll start getting some options. But if you're a brand new player who doesn't have a lot of options on the bench, this is going to be challenging, and you just want more favor before you go in to make up for potentially a lack of champions. Utterly Deadly. It's fantastic. This is the second variant for Lucius. So again, Lucius starts in the formation, slot 5. Folks, I don't know what slot 5 is. They have this internal numbering, like behind the scenes numbering for the slots, and I don't know. They don't reference it enough for me to remember what they are. So just know that Lucius is going to start in the formation and can't be moved. This is time to learn Lucius. Lucius is a DPS. So you'll be building your formation around Lucius. Just know that. And then they make it even more so with the next part of this. Lucius is the only champion that can deal damage. All right. Heads up. Lucius does have some splash damage and some AoE, so, it's not horrible. All other champions have their DPS disabled, but their abilities are active. That's good. Lucius attacks twice as fast as normal. Fantastic. And his ultimate cooldown is reduced to 30 seconds. Also fantastic. In each area, Cursed Cow appears. If the Cursed Cow attacks a champion, that champion becomes cursed, disabling all of its upgrades until you change areas. So basically, you need to kill the cow as quickly as possible. That's it. Just know you're going to be building this formation around Lucius, and you got to kill the cow. Having Lucius attack twice as fast as normal and reducing his ultimate is great for this. Just make sure it at least shows easy so that you can kill that cow. Lucius' bedtime stories. Nat, Jinx, and Squidly join the champions for their first Simril outside of Waterdeep. If you're not familiar with who these NPCs are, they're children from the Waterdeep campaign. So it shows you where they're going to put them. You're going to lose 3 champion slots for this, so that means you're going to need a lot more favor. You're going to need at least EO1 favor for each champion. For each champion you lose, at least for each champion you lose. So no, you're probably going to want E10, E11 favor for this to make sure you can do it without a problem. You can always try it before then, but you may run into trouble losing this many champions. So they each take up a slot in the formation. Lesser gibbering mouthers appear in each area and move 100% faster as nightmares do. So it's a swarm. It's, again, this is that kind of rush thing towards your formation and try to overwhelm your tank kind of situation. So you just the best way to deal with that is just have a lot more favor. All right, for the newest champion, Yorvin. We are talking about Raven Swarm. This is a much conversated variant since it was announced. Yorvin starts in the formation and can't be moved or removed. So this is, again, time to use Yorvin. Yorvin is a DPS / support. So, figure out how you want to use him. 3 ravens appear in each area. The ravens drop no gold, nor do they count towards quest progress. Every 5 areas, an additional raven spawns in the swarm. So again, this is kind of an overwhelm. Try to overwhelm the tank's situation. You just need to be sure you're killing everything quickly. You don't have to go that far with 75, so it's not like you're going to get super bursted down with tons of ravens. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think this one's super challenging, to be honest. You just have to kill a few more things every level. A lot of people asked about this one. Is this a good variant to farm Zorbu on, farm his beast stacks on? I'm gonna say no. I mean, it's okay, it's fine, but it's not efficient and ideal because they just spawn once. It's not like they're continually spawning the ravens. And that's what you would want. You would want a situation where 100 ravens are spawning over and over and over and over and over again. Like, you just want to be swarmed with only beasts, and this doesn't do that. This doesn't do that because it only spawns once. Fangclaw. In each boss area, a vicious rabbit boss enemy appears. This is ironic. It's not ironic. It's just rude. Because Yorvin's a Herringon. He's a bunny person. So bunny on hot bunny on bunny action. In each boss area, a vicious rabbit boss enemy appears. It must also be defeated in order to progress. So they're basically giving you double bosses. It's annoying, folks. It's annoying. Gold fines reduced by 99%. Don't freak out. Don't panic. Don't panic. Basically, all this means is you're going to need an extra EO2 favor to compensate. A 99% reduction is basically reducing things by EO2. That's what that means. Because you can have lots and lots of favor, it's not a big deal. Normally you would want EO6, EO7 for this. So that means you want EO8, EO9. And it'll be like there was no gold fine reduction at all. Only champions with Dex 14 or higher can be used. And I've got a chart for that in my guide. Let me just double check real quick. I thought I did. Oh, wrong wing. Let's see. Are there any main? Yeah, this one's pretty restrictive. You don't, as a brand new player, your first champion that you'll be able to put on the field would be Jarlaxle. And then Calliope. And then Crawl, because you'll have picked up Crawl by now. So, yeah, this one's going to be a lot more challenging if you don't have a deep bench. So that means you... Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. That means, this could be challenging and you want even more favor potentially to overwhelm. Like to overpower it. So, yeah, Fangclaw could be rough for newer players. Could be real rough. And since it costs 2,500 tokens... you want to make sure you can beat it before you go in. All right. And the final variant, Raven Queen's Memories. Yorvin Springpaw is haunted by his time in the Shadowfell. A wraith escorts the formation. So you're down a champion, And they're right in that kind of crucial middle spot in the formation. That's rough. It increases the base attack cooldown of each adjacent champion by 4 seconds. That's also rough because you would usually be putting your DPS right on that area. If Yorvin's in the formation, the increase is only 2 seconds. So either way, it's going to take you longer to clear waves. So, whether you use Yorvin for this or not, like if you're going to use Yorvin, it's probably better if you try to use support Yorvin. You really want wave clear here. You really want either an AoE DPS or a multi-attack DPS. Because every time you are allowed to attack, you want it to clear as much as possible. I definitely actually would recommend an AoE DPS for that. Enemies move 200% faster, so that means they're going to be right up on the tank real fast. So AoE and beefy tanks in your front line is going to be good. So how do you make beefy tanks? Well, lots of favor, right? So again, this is a 5,000 token, 5,000 candles to start this. You may need like E10 favor before diving in. You may need that. So yeah, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, that's each of the variants. Remember, if you're a newer player, you don't have to do all the variants. You don't have to. If you can, it's great because those are guaranteed gold chests, but it's fine. It's fine if you don't. It'll be okay. Oh, I actually want to hop into one of these. Let's hop into Yorvin's. Let's talk about each of the champions. It's going to load in. Oh, I knew it. I was like, no, let me get out of that real quick. Stop automating. I actually don't want automation right now. Remove all the things. Bam, there we go. Okay. Krull. Slot 6. Bam. This is normally a Shara slot. Shara is kind of a big deal. Shara is kind of a big deal in DPS, but Krull is kind of a big deal in debuffs. Krull is one of the top 2 debuffers in the game, so keep in mind that there are times where maybe you don't want to use a Shara, maybe you want to use Krull and another DPS to wreck all the faces. Lucius, slot 7. He is basically pure DPS. And then Yorvin, our pal Yorvin over here. Boom. There he is. There he is. How do we want to do? Yeah, let's do like this. Let's do like this. Yorvin's our here and going friend. He's DPS support. I'm not even going to comment on the other role they gave him because... No. We'll comment on it. We'll comment on it in a bit, but no. Just no. All right. We'll start off with Krull. I still, honestly, it's nice if you're a new player right now and you're getting Krull, that's great, because I still consider Krull one of the best champions to pick up early because of his ability to kind of snowball your progress. What do I mean by that? Like the idea of a snowball rolling, getting bigger and bigger. You start with something small, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger without a whole lot of effort. Krull's abilities do that for you. Krull is fantastic in the sense that you just have to put him in the formation. The only thing you have to think about in terms of placement is he shouldn't be your tank. He's a big boy. He's not a tank. He is a support champion. Right here. Support, gold find. So, Krull's a Turtle cleric. He's a death cleric of Tiamat, if I remember correctly. Doesn't it say? Yeah, there we go. So member of the Dark Order affiliation with Archon and Torrigar. Lawful evil. Everything about Krull is going to be based around his plagues. So let's keep that in mind. I'm actually going to read his Draconic Plague before I go over his base attack because they work together. Draconic Plague. Every 5 seconds, Krull applies a Draconic Plague to the next enemy to spawn. So this means just every 5 seconds, something spawning is automatically going to come out with a plague on it. Keep that in mind. The plagues gain a stack every 3 seconds, increasing their power and capping at 10 stacks. Plagues can also be applied by Krull's base attack. So that means, yes, 1 every 5 seconds will spawn with a plague, but then anything Krull attacks will also get a plague. Or will increase the number of stacks if they already have it. So, Krull's base attack, Necrotic Touch. Krull attacks a random enemy with his Maul, adding a plague if possible, or adding 2 stacks to each of their plagues. So that helps the number go up to 10. He can't add, once it's at 10, it can't normally go above that. We'll talk about how it can go above that in a bit, though, because that's what makes Krull OP. Krull OP is having more than 10 stacks. So what kind of plagues does he apply? Well, he applies Pilfer, Pain, and Traitor. They are color-coded here in the UI on purpose. They're also color-coded when they're applied to an enemy. And, you know, we're probably going to need to get a lot higher to see them. Let me throw some speed on so we can get somewhere that's a higher level while we're talking, so that you can see. Eventually, we'll be able to see what these look like. Pilfer. Pilfer is your gold find plague. It causes, don't bother with the percentages here. It's going to vary for reasons. It causes enemies to drop more gold per stack. So remember, stacks can go up to 10 at base. So that's going to get you bonus gold when an enemy dies. Pain causes the enemy to take more damage per stack. That is the damage debuff. Like they're going to take more incoming damage. They're debuffed to take more incoming damage. And then Traitor is kind of a wave clear plague. When an infected enemy is damaged, nearby enemies also receive 10% of that damage per stack. So at 10 stacks, they're taking full damage. At base, again, at base. So Traitor means I hit an enemy. The damage, they take some damage, but then everyone else takes even more damage. Okay? For people who have put Krull in their formation and they get to boss levels and everything dies but one enemy, and then they can't seem to you can't seem to damage that enemy at all. This is why. This is why. This is not a bug. This is Krull. This is Krull being not only a traitor creating a traitor in the midst of those enemies, but also kind of being a traitor to you pushing easily. Because he has killed what killed everything was the traitor bonus damage, and now you can't do that kind of damage anymore because it's just that one enemy, right? So how do you fix that? Well, if you just back up a level and then restart the level again, a lot of times RNG is going to fix that for you. Because basically you'll wrap everything up and you'll hit something and then everything will explode and you'll be able to move forward again. If you have Jim Dark Magic from Acquisitions Inc., he also has a part of his base attack, base attack when he's using his Wand of Wonder ability, can turn it into a little abyssal chicken and it dies real quick and you can move forward that way too. But just know that you can just reset the level and do it again and potentially move forward. But that is just how Krull works. Virulent Strain. I want to note, so you get Draconic Plague at level 50, which means you get it real quick. So even if you're newer and you don't have a lot of gold, you bring Krull's Plagues online real fast. It is level 100, though, where basically Krull goes into overpower mode with Virulent Strain. Let me remove. Hold on. I want people to see base values here. Okay. Virulent Strain. When an enemy with a Draconic Plague dies, there's a 10% chance that its plague or plagues, if it has more than one, because you can have all 3 of these on an enemy, will transfer to another enemy. It's possible for an enemy to gain multiple copies of the same plague when this occurs, which will stack multiplicatively. So what does this mean? Before we talked about how plagues cap at 10 stacks per plague. So you can have 10 stacks of Pilfer, 10 stacks of Pain, 10 stacks of Traitor. Virulent Strain, when it procs, will allow this to transfer stacks, instances is what I like to refer to them, of that same plague to a different enemy, and thus raise the cap from 10 to 20. From 20 to 30. From 30 to 40. 40 is the max. You can have 4 instances. Now, the important part here is at the bottom where it says, which will stack multiplicatively. This means that if you have, like we were looking at earlier, let's look at Traitor. When an affected enemy is damaged, nearby enemies also receive 10% of that damage per stack. That means at 10 stacks, that's 100% damage, right? At 20 stacks, that's not 200% damage. At 20 stacks, that's 10,000% damage. At 30 stacks, we had 2 more zeros. That's 1,000,000% damage. You see how this works? The multiplicative nature of this with multiple instances of Virulent Strain is what makes Krull super OP if you can get Virulent Strain to proc. 10% base chance, pretty low. Pretty low. But there's feats for that. I had them in. That's why I took it out. I wanted you to see the base value. Venomous Touch you get for free. Slot it right away. The number one feat to slot for him right away. 50% chance. That's going to take you up to 15%, right? Because that's how math works. Now there's a 15% chance. That's at least better. Anything you can get is better. But in a gold chest, there is an increased toxicity feat, which is 100% chance. These are the 2 feats that you want to slot for Krull. These are what break Krull, basically. Because now my chance is 30%, and that's roughly 1 in 3. 1 out of every 3 kills is going to transfer a plague. When you just have your green feat, the 50%, you'll see 20 stacks occasionally. That'll be the more common one you'll see, and you'll see a huge increase. You'll notice when it happens. You'll see your bud spike. If you're someone who still uses, please don't. If you're someone who uses running average, you'll see huge numbers over here because you just totally spiked something. You'll see that the champion that was doing the most damage is a support champion. How could that be? Well, it's because they're the one that hit that 20 stack enemy that had pain on it. And they did way more damage than even your DPS would ever do because of that multiplicative bonus, right? Once you may still occasionally, if you're real lucky, you may occasionally see a 30 stack or a 40 stack. That's a lie, though. You won't see them. If it's a 30 stack or 40 stack of pain, they're just going to explode the first time someone touches them. You probably won't see it. What you will see, though, is an enormous damage spike. Or you will see an enormous increase in gold. Sometimes people are like, wow, I don't know what happened, but I earned a lot of gold and I got a bunch of upgrades, and it's been 30 levels and I haven't got enough gold to upgrade anyone again. And it's like, are you using Krull? Yeah. Yeah, you got like a 20, 30, or 40 stack of gold of Pilfer and didn't know it. And you over-earned. And that over-earning could literally prevent you from leveling up a champion for 30, 40, 50 levels. That's fine, though, because you earned all that gold in advance. And it just made your progress go quicker through those levels. This is what makes Krull fantastic for favor farming, right? If you can get 30 or 40 stacks of Pilfer, the gold is just because you're not high end of, not even high end favor farming, but once you've unlocked a Zaka, favor farming isn't about killing something. It's about bullying it for its lunch money, which means you can stack up 30 or 40 stacks of Pilfer and then just bully it for its lunch money over and over again and just make tons of gold. I've done this on streams multiple times. Yes, there's a guide for that. It's incredible. It's incredible. So Krull and Azaka, it's great that you started now because Krull is going to be fantastic for your progress as a newer player. And combined with Azaka, you're gonna have so much favor It's not even going to be wild. It's wild. Okay, so that's it. We've talked about 2 abilities for Krull, folks, because these are the most important things. Level 100, that's not even hard to get to level up. So you can bring Krull fully online by level 100, by upgrade level 100. 110 gives you a double effect on pain, and it's like, oh, that's just gravy, right? So let's talk about specializations for Krull. Hey, it's everything you'd ever want. It's Pilfer, Pain, and Traitor. You're basically picking one of the plagues and deciding which one you want more. Newer players, Pilfer. You want Pilfer. You want that gold. When you're new, gold gold rules all. Gold gets you favor. Gold buys you upgrades. It helps you push further. This is what I was talking about. Snowball. Krull earns you gold. Krull lets you do more damage. Krull earns you more gold. More gold lets you do more damage. More damage means you get more gold. More gold means you get more upgrades. It's this cycle in just one run. It's a nice little cyclical snowball. But then you reset your adventure and you've earned tons of favor, and then that favor lets you push further on the next time with Krull again. It's just Krull is great for favor. Krull is great for favor. So during this event, try and use Krull. Honestly, if you're a newer player, try and use Krull to build your favor so that you can do your variants easier. He should just blow things away. He should. If you need help with your formations, I know you're giving up Ashara, and we've told you Ashara is great. I know maybe you're like trying to use him with Jarlaxle. Jarlaxle does not work with Krull. Krull applies plagues. They stack up. They're stacking up real high against the tank. Jarlaxle only attacks the people over here. He will never attack all of these major plagued people. So, you want to use somebody else. Who do I suggest? Hitch. Hitch is great. I know Hitch doesn't have a DPS tag, but Hitch is a super secret DPS. So Hitch and Krull might be a way to go for you if you want to try it out, this event. So most of the time you're going to want Pilfer. When would you choose one of the others? When you have so much favor that you reach the champion upgrade soft cap, which is where this symbol for clicking your specialization is. If it's a circle with a line through it, that means favor isn't getting you any more upgrades. At that point, you don't need Pilfer anymore. You might still want it if you're doing an Azaka farm. If you're planning to do a Azaka farm, you would still want Pilfer. But otherwise, you could choose Pain or Traitor. I tend to default into Pain. It just depends on the situation. If I know I have plenty of power to do what I want to do, and I just want wave clear for, say, a single target champion, then I would go Traitor, right? So that's it. Oh no, wait, he's got other abilities. No, he doesn't, folks. I hate to say that, but Draconic Plague and Virulent Strain are what matter for Krull. Let's talk about the other abilities they gave him, though, just so you know what he has. Archon's Army. Krull increases the damage of all evil champions in the formation by 1%, reduced by a smaller percent for each good champion in the formation. So, if you're running an evil formation, Krull's got a bonus for you. It's not an enormous bonus. Plague and Virulent Strain are the biggest things for him. This is just a nice bonus if you want to run all evil. The Master's Call. Krull increases the damage of Archon the Cruel by 1%, reduced by 75% multiplicatively for each slot away from Krull greater than 1. So this tells you want to run Krull with Archon, but if you'd like Archon, sure, run Krull with Archon. But Krull is what I refer to as DPS agnostic. He doesn't care. For the most part, he doesn't care who. He doesn't need to be with Archon. Use him with whoever. The only restriction for Krull is you don't want to use him with someone like Jarlaxle or Catti-brie, who only attack the furthest enemy. You want to attack either the closest enemy or a random enemy, or be doing an AoE of some kind for Krull. That's the only real restriction. So don't take these abilities to think he only works with evil or he only works with Archon, because his true power lies in these other abilities, and they have no restrictions. They have no restrictions. Dark Order Synergy increases the effect of Archon's army by 100% for each Dark Order member adjacent to Krull. Doesn't really matter. There's only two other Dark Order members, so it doesn't become a big bonus. Doesn't become a big bonus. Krull has a lot of feats, folks. Look at all these. Tons of self-damage, or tons of all-champs damage. He's got some gold. He's got pain. He's got pilfer. He's got a Master's Call. Don't care. Virulent Strain. Virulent Strain. If you don't have... Until you get increased toxicity, throw in... like whatever, if you've only got pain, throw in pain. But ideally, you would throw in gold find of some kind. Like if you can get the Pilfer one soon, that'd be great. Or this. This is not as good as Pilfer. For Pilfer 40%, not only 40% is better, but because this is part of plagues and can then stack multiplicatively, this is what you would want until you get increased toxicity, right? If you don't have either of those and you just need to use pain, fine. But ultimately, you want both Virulent Strain feats to really unlock the power of Krull. That means, when I say these are the most important things for Krull, that means his gear is nice, but it's frosting on your cake. It's not necessary. Krull's a delicious cake on his own. Krull's not just a snack. He's a whole damn meal. But the gear is nice. The gear is nice, but it doesn't matter as much as the feats do. So he gets all champs damage. He gets focuses for Pilfer and Pain, which is great. Then he gets Archon's army. He gets his ultimate. We need to talk about that. Ultimate attack damage and ultimate cooldown. Those are good. His ultimate is now... It used to be the best ultimate in the game at killing armored enemies. It's now the second best, and armored and hit-based. It's now the second best ultimate. It enables what I call the Krullening. Krull's ultimate is Corrupted Ghouls. Krull summons 4 Corrupted Ghouls that rush towards the nearest enemies and explode, damaging all nearby enemies and leaving behind pools of necrotic goo that last for 30 seconds. While they are there, each pool does damage every second to whatever is sitting in the pool. So this means those stationary bosses that are hit-based or armored, if you clear out the wave of enemies between you and them and then fire off the Krullening, that's just going to sit there and it's just going to chew through their hits and their chunks, their armor chunks, as long as you've got the damage for it on the armored ones. But for hit-based ones, just deletes them, because hit-based only needs 1 damage per, and Krull's guaranteed to do that. So this is one of the best ultimates in the game for killing that kind of thing. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, we're running a little long, but we have a lot to talk about. So here we go. Lucius. Lucius is a high elf sorcerer. He comes to us from Erois. He is a Heroes of Erois. So this is one of the few exceptions to the rules that this is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, because Erois is not part of the Forgotten Realms. It is a homebrew campaign. So this is along with Ayla, Nova, Keelik, and Sentry. They're a solid group. And then they've got Lucius. I hate to say it, but here we are. As you can see over here, Lucius's base attack changes. Lucius's base attack changes. So it depends on... it will rotate. It alternates between these two. And they work together. So one of them is Acid Splash. He attacks the furthest enemy with Acid Splash. What were we just talking about, furthest enemy things? With Acid Splash, dealing damage. But then he also has Ray of Frost, and with that, he attacks a random enemy, so that's better. With Ray of Frost, which deals damage and damages all enemies along a line between him and the enemy. So that's nice. Everything... Oh, I'm losing my voice already. Everything about Lucius is built around these two attacks. So understanding that he rotates between Acid Splash and Ray of Frost is the core to understanding Lucius's kit. So first ability, Arcane Chromat Acid. Enemies hit by Acid Splash take a percent of Lucius's damage every second. So this is basically, they get the straight damage from being hit, and then they take a dot, and then they have a damage dot, so damage over time. Arcane Chromat Cold. Enemies hit by Ray of Frost are slowed by 50% for 10 seconds, and take more damage from all attacks while affected. So this is a debuff. This is a self-applied debuff that lets him do more damage on subsequent hits. Here we go. This is the big one. Elemental Adept. When an enemy is affected by both of Lucius's Arcane Chromat abilities, so they've been hit by both attacks, they are stunned and frozen in place for 3 seconds. At the end of that 3 seconds, they explode with acid, taking a large amount of damage. It's going to vary. I don't want to read this off because it's going to be different for everybody. 1/5 of the Elemental Adept stacks seconds worth of acid chromat tick damage. So it's based off that dot. It's based off that dot as that explosion. This also consumes both the chromat debuffs on the enemy, but it spreads the acid dot to nearby enemies. So this is a way to AoE splash that around. And then remember, Ray of Frost hits everything that's in the line. So this is a way to enable massive AoE explosions and damage. So each explosion increases Elemental Adept stacks by 1. So the more you explode, the better, basically. Aroas Synergy. Lucius contributes to the Aroas Synergy pool as follows: 100% per stack of Elemental Adept. The damage of Arcane Chromat Acid is then increased by 25% of the total synergy pool. So this is a synergistic effect with other members of the Heroes of Aroas. So if you're running more of them, it basically makes Lucius better. You can find more information over here, like what they were talking about stacks. Here's where it's going to track your stacks for Elemental Adept. Stacks cap at 100 and reset to 0 when changing areas. So basically, it's you're ramping up their damage as you're sitting on an area. So as it gets harder to push, Lucius has an ability that allows himself to increase his damage. Specializations. This is going to affect this. Dichromancy. This increases the explode damage of Elemental Adept by 25%. So just straight up 25% bonus to damage every time it explodes. Elemental Master increases the maximum stacks of Elemental Adept by 50. So if it was 100 stacks, Dichromancy is basically giving you a 25% bonus, almost like it's 25 more stacks. So technically, Elemental Master at its highest stacks would do more damage. Once it has 26 stacks, or 126 stacks, I should say, it's going to do more damage for you than Dichromancy. But it doesn't do anything until you get that high. Whereas Dichromancy does that bonus damage the entire time, right? Lingering Chill. Only 50% of Lucius's Elemental Adept stacks are cleared when changing areas. So if you got all the way up to 100, that means at the next area you start at 50. Nothing else changes, though. It just means you start with more damage, but you don't get any more. So each of these is a trade-off. What are you looking for? Are you looking for straight-up bonus damage? Dichromancy. It's there all the time. From 1 stack on, well, even 0 stacks on, you're getting more damage with Dichromancy, 25% more. Elemental Master only gives you more damage if you're hitting 126 stacks consistently before killing things. So on super deep pushes, if you can stay alive that long, Elemental Master is the bigger bonus. If you're just trying to rush through things with as much damage as possible from level to level, you're not necessarily trying to push deep, then maybe you go Lingering Chill, right? So you have to kind of figure out what you're looking for from each specific one. But Elemental Master is going to give you potentially the most damage. Let me just switch this here. Put a familiar there. That's easier. Okay, Prismatic Spray is his ultimate. Do we have anything after that? No, let's just talk about Prismatic Spray then. 8 multicolored rays flash from Lucius's hands in a cone shape. Basically, in most cases, this is going to hit everything on the screen. Each enemy in the cone takes damage and receives both the Arcane Chromat dot and the Arcane Chromat Cold Slow. So this basically primes everything on the screen so that you don't have to wait for Lucius to hit it, right? Let me show it off. It's pretty cool. Bam! That's it. Speed potions, folks. It got totally spread up. But it shoots out these cool lines and they cover things on the screen. By the way, here's the corrupted ghouls. See how they rush out and then they leave the goo behind? Anything that runs into that just instantly explodes. Instantly explodes. Oh, no, we still need to talk more about Lucius, excuse me. Items. Self-damage because he's a DPS. That's all he is a DPS. He's got Arcane Chromat Acid, Arcane Chromat Cold, so he's buffing exactly the right things for himself. And then he gets ultimate attack damage and his cooldown back. I think all of these items, and I think he's itemized well. His feats are the same. You know, he's got self-damage, he's got Chromat Acid, he's got a con bonus, which... I can't remember what that qualifies him for on the top of my head. He's got an Arcade Chromat Cold, so he can feed up appropriately. I should probably actually buy that. He can feed up appropriately because you'd kind of want... is that the one? No, I wanted the acid one anyway. And then I wanted 60% damage. There we go. But now I have them all. So he can feed up appropriately. He is the DPS for the Heroes of Erois. So if you're running a full Heroes of Erois formation, he is your DPS. I don't know that he's super strong if you're not using at least 1 or 2 other members of the Heroes of Erois. But hey, Ayla is my pick for best tank in the game currently. She's fantastic, and she's a Hero of Erois. So, you know, there you go. So yeah, we do have some competition for DPS though. In this event, Garbled for Life says Lucius's con feat is for Vajra. Okay, thank you. Streamer brain was just not bringing that up real quickly. Yorvin is a I know it says DPS healing support, but folks, he's a DPS support. He's a DPS support. Yeah. Harengon Barbarian Druid, which is a really cool combination. All right, Ferocious Maul is his attack. He leaps out at the nearest enemy, pinning it in place and attacking it once a second for 5 seconds. If it doesn't die from the first attack, right? Feywild Shape. I love this. Yorvin wild shapes into a powerful Shadow Mastiff-like creature for 30 seconds. Let's go see that one. Boom! Look at how evil he gets, folks. Look at him. Look at him. It's just so dark. There's his normal form. Man, they could have gone with Super Fluffy Bunny, Harengon, and they didn't, and I'm really glad. I'm really glad they didn't. All right, Blood Fury Tattoo. Each time Yorvin attacks during Ferocious Maul, that's his basic attack, the enemy gains a stack of Blood Fury. Each stack causes them to take 100% more damage from all sources, stacking multiplicatively. Those are the ones we like, folks. So this is a multiplicative debuff. That can stack up to 5 times at 100%. The debuff lasts for 2 seconds, so it doesn't last long. The timer's refreshed when it's reapplied. So in that initial 5 swipes, he's going to get 5 multiplicative stacks, but then it's going to last for 2 seconds. So if he's the DPS, that's great. He's going to take advantage of the first 4. The 5th is going to be wasted. Because he's not gonna. His attack is, isn't 2 seconds, so he's not gonna be able to get to that. But if he's a support, potentially your DPS could hit on that 5th multiplicative stack. Infectious Fury. Enemies that Yorvin has attacked take more damage from all champions when they are attacking the formation. Yet another damage debuff. So he is a debuffer, and this is so there have been some people talking about using him for click debuff. It does say damage from all champions, but if it works for clicks, then this is another click debuff situation. But only once they're attacking the formation. Only once they're attacking the formation. Danger sense. Danger, Yorvin Robinson. No, that's not right. Danger sense. Champions adjacent to Yorvin take 5 less damage from all attacks. And Yorvin gains a damage boost for 10 seconds when this ability effectively lowers the damage of an enemy attack. This means Yorvin wants to be next to your tanks, in most cases. Yorvin wants to be next to your tank or tanks. Or if you're in an AoE, if you're fighting AoE bosses, it's going to kick in regardless of where Yorvin is. But this is a formation indicator in the sense that you want him next to your tanks to trigger this. Now, it's not an enormous boost, so you might be fine without it. But if you're trying to get every last bit of bonus, this is it. This is it. And 5 less damage isn't a whole lot. But there are champions out there that take things like that, those positional formation abilities, and multiply them. So champions like Artemis and Archon. So that 5 less damage may be able to go up a lot, depending on the situation. Hunger for Blood. If an enemy dies while Yorvin is attacking it with Ferocious Maul, Yorvin gains an additional attack and begins attacking another enemy. So Hunger for Blood basically makes Yorvin hopping mad, and he just jumps all over the place. If he can one-shot things, he will clear an entire screen. This is key to Yorvin's achievement. We haven't talked about all the champions' achievements yet, but this, while we're here, is key to Yorvin's achievement. You want to unlock Yorvin's achievement, you need this. Because this is how you are going to let him kill 20 enemies with one attack. He's just going to hop from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and he's never going to stop. This specialization does absolutely nothing for you at your wall. Let's be perfectly clear. You're probably not killing things in one hit. Even if you're killing them on the 5th hit, that's just going to get you one more attack, and that's not going to do anything for you. So this is very much for funsies, wave clear if you're not having to push super far. Eldritch Claw Tattoo. Each time Yorvin attacks during Ferocious Maul, Eldritch energy shoots out and zaps a different enemy, dealing damage based on the amount of health Yorvin's target currently has, capped by Bud. So this is a Bud-based bonus. This is what you're going to want for pushing. This is what you're going to want for pushing. Because every attack, it's going to do damage to something else, and it's going to be based on Bud. Take that off. There we go. So that was the specialization. There's nothing else after that because Yorvin's he's just a murder bunny. So Blood Fury Tattoo. Was there something missing in this? Everybody should be going, wait, Gaarawarr, something's missing. His role says he's a healer. I don't know. All right. Your ultimate, Yorvin Wild Shapes, we saw this. During this time, their attack cooldown is reduced by 2.5 seconds and their damage is increased by 4.5%. I forgot about this part. This is basically an on-demand power boost. It's super nice. This danger sense is why they're labeling him a healer. Because of the damage reduction. Folks, it's 348 now that I've leveled him all the way up. That's not a lot of damage, folks. That's not a healer. This to me is support, but I don't get to decide who they tag and why. There's no heals. We've seen damage prevention in the form of temp HP shields. They call those healers in this game. Sure. They're taking this to mean it's the same type of thing. But this is a shield is at least somewhat visual, and this is not. So I don't know. Just know that it's there, and this is why it says healer. He does not heal. He does not heal. All right. Gear. Damage all champions for both. Despite being a DPS, they get double damage all champions. So they're really leaning more into the support category. Blood Fury Tattoo, Infectious Fury. You get Danger Sense. This can help that damage reduction. And then you get ultimate cooldown reduction. So, I mean, sure. I don't know that this caps. So potentially you could get damage reduction way up there. Could be interesting. But I feel like the best chances of using them is a support with one of those other champions that likes to multiply those things. Feat-wise, you get damage all champions, you get self-damage, but then you get into, hey, here's damage reduction for Danger Sense. It's 100%. Here's the damage boost for that. Here's Blood Fury, Infectious Fury. We've got a Charisma feat. This qualifies them for Zerial. Right? So they've got a lot of feat options. Which makes sense for a bunny. Right? Achievements. Before we head out, let's go over to the event. So Simril, Dadius used to be part of Simril. Dadius is no longer part of Simril. Warden used to be part of Simril. No longer. These champions can only be obtained in time gates. Their achievements can be obtained in time gates. These numbered achievements can only be obtained in an event. They can be done in any free play. So you can get all 5 of these in this event if you can push to 275. Okay. Now, Krull's personal achievement is defeat an enemy with all 3 of Krull's plagues affecting them at the maximum possible stacks. The maximum possible stacks is 10. Don't worry about that 40 that I was talking about earlier. This is referring to 10. So that just means you need to, if you want to do it in a certain way, you push to your wall, you pull your DPS out. You let the stacks build up so that there's 10 Plague, Pilfer, and Traitor on them. And then you put the DPS back in, and then you get the achievement. Elemental Pop have Lucius have 10,000 enemies explode due to Lucius's elemental adept ability. This is just a use Lucius at your wall ability. You're just going to have to use Lucius as a DPS for a while, or just sit on a stage and farm with him near your wall and let him explode things. Feral Bunny have Yorvin Springpaw attack and kill 20 enemies in one attack. I kind of told you how to do this. It's based off his left specialization. It's the same kind of situation with Krull. You want to get somewhere, except you want to get somewhere that's not your wall. You want to get somewhere where Yorvin can one-shot everything, but no one else kills anything. And then you pull Yorvin out. And then you let more than 20 enemies pile up. And then you put Yorvin in, and then he just hops around and kills them all. And you get it right away. Like, once he's done his 20th kill, you're good. So the hardest part about this one is just finding the right level to do it on. I did want to point out we're getting further in. I wanted to go deeper and show you what Krull's plagues look like. They're these little vials. Yeah, he's going to die. Okay, I need a tank. There are these little vials that show up on the enemies right here. And they show up in different places. So there's 2 up here and there's 1 down here, right? They make a little Y. So the top left one is always going to be Traitor. It's purple. The top right one, this is probably backwards on the screen, but the top right one is always going to be Pain. It's red. And the bottom one is always Pilfer. It's green. Krull's plagues are really nice visually because it shows you like this. And it also counts up the stacks. So you can see it on screen counting up. There's 10 stacks on that one for Pilfer specifically. So when you're building stacks, you want a beefy tank. You want to give Krull time to hit everything and build up all of these stacks, and then you want to do damage and kill all the stuff. Which we're not going to do here, but that's fine. Demonstration purposes only. Here, let's put the Beefinator in front. He's at least big and looks like he's tough. All right, folks, that is all of the. Oh, okay. That is all of the tutorial part. I'm going to take a short break. We're going to listen to music and come back, and then we'll dive in with the time we have left and do all the questions. Mars did pull a bunch of them up over here. We've already got almost a couple dozen. So we don't have songs for Krull, Lucius, or Yorvin, which is unfortunate. But we do have a song for Tiamat, and that's who Krull serves. So we're going to listen to that right now. I'll be right back, folks.
When I look into your ten bright eyes, I feel a change inside I can't explain. Your long red wings become my everything as I feel power flowing through my veins. Love is hell, but here's the thing. You could be my dragon queen, and I could be your paladin. Our love will be evergreen. We're just like fire and gasoline. Your 5 devious minds mesmerize me, but you're one your heart that I adore. Hold me close in your claws, no regrets and no laws are chromatic. Love will soar. Love in hell makes my heart sing. You could be my dragon queen, and I could be your paladin. Our love will be evergreen. We're just like fire and gasoline. I'm opening my heart up more than I could ever dream or dare. Flying high upon your wings, I hear you roar and I'm not scared. You could be my dragon queen, and I could be your paladin. Our love will be evergreen. We're just like fire and gasoline. You could be my dragon queen, and I could be your paladin. Our love will be evergreen. We're just like fire and gasoline. Just like fire and gasoline. Just like fire and gasoline.
We're back. We're back. And yes, Arrowstone, the idea behind You Could Be My Dragon Queen, the musical style was in the musical style of Taylor Swift singing a song to Tiamat. So the alternate title for this song is Tiamat Swift. That's what I call it. Sing the Tiamat Swift song. I love that song. One day, maybe we'll get Taylor Swift to cover it. I'm pushing. I've tweeted multiple times. I don't know why she's not listening. One day I will be big enough that Taylor Swift will listen to one of my tweets and cover that song. All right, I'm going to hit up the questions from the document. I'm going to focus on the ones that are about the event first, and then I'll do anything else if I have time. Love an Idiot as a new player. Should I focus on the campaign or do the event? Do the event. Well, if you run out of candles at some point and you're waiting for candles to recharge, you can then go do a campaign thing and then come back. Nooble76. Do candles drop over time for each party? No. Again, it's just one every 25 seconds. It doesn't matter how many parties you run. It doesn't matter if you're running speed potions. It's real world 25 seconds. So it's one every 25 seconds. Again, the only way during an event that you're getting more bounty or getting more tokens is bounty contracts. There is a blessing that will let you start the campaign with 2,500 tokens, but that only works if you get it before an event starts off. If you start an event with 2,500 tokens, it only works before you start the event. You can't pick it up during an event. It won't do anything. The trigger is the event starting. So during a campaign, the only way to get extra tokens is popping bounty contracts. Do you always have to convert the favor at the end, or can it be saved for the next time that favor comes up? Nope, you always have to convert. Always, always, always. And it's in your best interest to do so, because a year later, when you come back to do this, you're going to have so much more power that favor that you had is going to be, the previous year is going to be somewhat laughable. Guinevere, do you get tokens while doing the event? Yes, one every 25 seconds. As long as you're killing something. If you stop killing something, like you're fighting a boss and it takes forever, it's not going to drop. But the next time you kill something, it'll start dropping more to catch you up. The Lurking Rider, do you have any recommendations for completing Lucy's achievements? I know it's another grind. It's just a grind. So go somewhere where you can tank a bunch of like 100 enemies. I can't remember if they, because exploding when they pop, they don't necessarily die. It will if it does enough damage. But I can't. It's been so long since I did that one. I can't remember if just popping is what triggers, and it can pop on the same 100 enemies. If so, you just find a place where you can tank 100 enemies and pop, pop, pop. Otherwise, just using him at your wall. Use him at your DPS near your wall, and it'll build up. McShizman, any trick to Yorvin? Oh, man, what did I do there? To Yorvin's Feral Bunny. Yeah, I think I just described it right at the end there. Basically, you have to find a level where Yorvin is the only one killing everything, and he kills everything in one hit. And that way he can carry, with the left spec, he gets that extra bonus attack, and that extra bonus attack kills a new enemy every time. It took me like 3 adjustments to find the exact right area. I just jumped around like 5 areas at a time once I was to a point where Yorvin was the only one killing things. But that's the hardest part about it. 9while9, if I stop playing a variant adventure, will I come back and wait for it to make it easy by playing a free play first? If you attempt a variant and fail, meaning you leave the variant, like you just complete it because you failed it, the only way you're going to beat it is by getting more favor, which would be a free play. This is why I just recommend doing free plays first, doing those first 3 adventures to unlock the champions, pushing to get favor in each one of those, but then do free plays to get more favor until hopefully everything shows as easy. And then do them once they show as easy. That's going to be your best chance. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it. You've got to look at the restrictions. But that's going to give you your best chance. But yeah, if you can't beat a free play, if you can't beat a variant, the only way you're going to do better at it is by getting more favor. Corey Deaver, if you already did one of the variants previously, do you still get the gold chest from the event? Nope. That's why all of mine show is completed. The only content I get to do as a veteran every time an event rolls around is the content for the newest champion. You can't do once a variant's done, you can't do it again. You can get them in time gates. That's a whole other thing, though. Doesn't help you in the event. Finnick, if the variant says their health goes up, since gold dropped is based on health, I don't know that that's... I want to say that health and gold are... I think there's correlation. I don't know that there's causation. But if there is, then sure. Then the health going up may help a little bit with the gold, but usually not as much as you think. Usually as you're leveling, like if their health is going up 100% every time, and that takes gold up 100%, 100% usually isn't the enough gold to get your power up enough to necessarily kill them. So it's just going to depend. I mean, you can try it, but again, I tend to get lots of favor and then just, if I can, and then overpower things with favor. In an event specifically. Could slot 5 be the 5th spot filled when you spawn 5 champions in when no formation? I don't know, Dota 2 Narcs. Like I said, they don't label that stuff for us, and they don't do it often enough for me to really care about remembering. I like that they're... I would rather... Here's the thing. So we're talking about one of these variants. It's Lucius's one right here. Starts in slot 5. So you see how over here they put an X where an NPC is going to go? I would rather, when they're telling us where it's going to be used, I'd rather they put that champion's face there, wherever it is. We already know they can put an X there. So just put the champion's face wherever they're going to be going in the formation. That'd be nice. Sandy. Mars, pass that along. Please, if you're still here. If the storm hasn't taken you out. Do you have a recommended place formation to complete Sympaticos? Do you have a recommended place formation to complete the Yorvin kill tool enemies? I did it in Sword Coast. It really doesn't matter where. Again, you just have to find a place where you can one-shot things with Yorvin and no one else. And then pull him out, let 20 enemies stack up, put him back in, and then you'll get it right away. With Havilar's +2 charisma feat, would you be able to use her in the Lucius variant? I mean, if it qualifies her for it, sure. Charisma 14 or higher? I mean, what's her charisma at? Hold on. I mean, you can check this just as easily as I can. I just want to point that out. Hers is already... Oh, I've got it equipped. So, yeah. Because it takes her to 14. But for the record, all you got to do is go click on her and look. If it takes somebody to 14, that's the whole point of stat feats. Is if it takes them to the stat requirement, then yes, then they qualify and you can use them. Mighty Metric Batman, what do you think of Krull's goal find? I mean, I kind of went into this before, but let me. Maybe I didn't. I tried to spend a lot of time on Krull so people understood Krull, which is why we went a little long for the tutorial part. But let's dive back into... Let me just talk about the math on Krull again. Krull is the highest gold find contributing champion in the game as long as you get... I mean, I think it's at least 30 stacks, but at 40... Like, people tried to do a visual chart of what champions contribute to things, and it didn't really do... Like, they showed all these things and numbers that went kind of the ups and tops of the screens and the bottoms, and then Krull's goes off the screen, and then they just kind of point and they say a total, and that does it a disservice. That makes people somewhat visually, in your mind, you think, oh, well, it doesn't go that far off. But if they had actually drawn that out, it would have shrunk everything down to the point where it looked like everyone else just isn't doing anything, and only Krull exists. Because it gets that wild. How is Lucius? It's Yorvin, folks. This is that damage reduction. People are like, how is Lucius not taking any damage? He is. Yorvin's reducing it. Because we're not very far. I mean, we kind of are, but the damage reduction off Yorvin is now in the hundreds, which is what they're doing. Yeah, 348. So they're doing less than that. You just can't see it. So here, actually, this would be better. Let me do this. Let me do this. There. Now neither of them will take any damage. Now neither of them will take any damage. So yeah, Krull's Goldfind and his damage debuff, though that one's not as important. Krull's Goldfind can be outrageous. The damage debuff isn't as important because you have to at least be able to kill one thing for it to matter. So Pain's great. Pain stacking with itself, multiplicity is great to spike your bud and ride that bud spike wave with a fire breath potion. For as long as while it's ticking down, you can go so far so fast with a fire breath potion. You don't have to wait for Krull's stuff when it spikes that way. That's one thing you can do as a newer player. But really what gets wild with Krull is the Goldfind. The Goldfind. And let's just look at. So mine is 429.4% more gold per stack. So at 10 stacks, I'm just going to do the math here with a calculator. 10 stacks, I know that's 4,294%, right? So at 10 stacks, that's what I get. At 20 stacks, that's 18,400,000 and change percent more gold. At 30 stacks, that's 79 billion % more gold. And at 40 stacks, it's roughly 340 trillion % more gold. No one comes close to Krull's Goldfind once he gets, heck, even 20 stacks, I guess. So, yeah. And the fact is, you can put him in with other people. You can put him in when you Azaka farm with Jarlaxle and with all these other people that give great gold bonuses, and make it even more. And that's why he's such a big deal in Azaka farming. All right. Brennan McGee, how do you get gold chests on event free plays? I thought it was always silver. Nope, you're thinking time gates. Time gates and events are not the same thing. I know people like to conflate the two. They're not. They're two separate delivery methods for champions and gear. They function differently. In event free plays, it's literally just go to complete area 50, reset. You get a random chest, either silver or gold. In a time gate, you get a new silver. You get a silver chest every unique 100 areas. These are two different things. The difference is, and the reason they do this is because in an event you are gated by your tokens. You are exchanging tokens and a little bit of time for gear. In a time gate, there's no token requirement. You have plenty of time. They don't want you just infinitely farming gear, right? How far do I have to go into the free play? Level 50. It tells you when you bring it up, like I did here. My reward, complete area 50 plus to receive a random chest. Going higher doesn't change your chance of what you get. I went to 1,300 the other day. I got a silver. It doesn't matter. And you don't get any more. It's just one. So what people do is they just will automate runs to 50 over and over and over until they run out of tokens. All right. We got plenty of time. So, Tabarja, when we're talking about Lucius, does explode equal the mob dies or that the debuffs explode? That the debuffs explode outward. Now, if there's enough damage in that explosion to kill the enemy, then it's dead. But if not, then it's just exploding with AoE damage. And spreading that acid dot. Okay, that's different. Dan Slover, as a new player that has no characters of the affiliation of Lucius, so here's a Verois. Any recommendations for the second Lucius variant? I'm not sure why that... Hold on. Just trying to make sure I understand what the point of the question was. I don't think that, yeah, this doesn't need Heroes of Erois. Lucius is a DPS. You can just run him. It's just if you have Heroes of Erois, it's great. Otherwise, you're just building whatever your strongest formation is, and you're just making Lucius the DPS. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. They're basically just telling you, hey, time to learn how to use Lucius as a DPS. So don't worry too much. It's just, again, it's a variant, so, you know, it's not something you're going to push super deep. Just need to get to the gold level. Mike's DK2, how much favor is enough? All of it. All of it. No. It's a little disingenuous. But sort of. All you can get. Example, I had all blessings on the Sword Coast, but still found that some Mert variants were hard without... Okay, this is... I'm gonna treat this like an event question. You're finding variants hard even though you have lots of favor and they show as easy. Well, that's because, again, the favor rating, or the difficulty rating on an adventure is a sign outside of that carnival ride that says you must be this tall to ride that ride. You could be a foot taller than that tall. You could be 2 or 3 foot taller than that sign. But if you don't like roller coasters, you're not going to enjoy the ride, right? You might be shorter than the sign and love roller coasters, but you know, there's still that's, you know, you can do it earlier sometimes you do it later, it's still going to be rough. You have to read the restriction rules. You have to understand that you are going to potentially be limited by the champions you can use, and that there are also going to be rules that make that variant harder, and you have to just try it and see if you can do it or not. And if you can't, you need to figure out why you can't. Is it because you just don't, are you using great champions, but you just don't have enough power? Then you're going to need more power from somewhere that isn't, you know, maybe it's blessings. If you've already got them all, then it's perks, patron perks, or it's your Modron core, or it's better gear, or higher rarity gear. Maybe it's legendaries. There's other ways to get power in the game, and you're going to have to find that. If you're just restricted to the point where you don't have a lot of champions on the field, and that's your big problem, then you need to get more champions that qualify for that variant. And sometimes that's not possible. I have every champion in the game, and there's a variant out that only gives me like 2 champions. I get 2 champions because only 2 champions qualify for it right now. So I have to wait for CNE to add more champions to the game that qualify for that variant for me to be able to do it. So, yeah. But that specifically is talking about patrons. But in events, it's just usually for variants and events, E10 is usually more than enough. Sometimes you might need a little bit more than that, but E10 is usually enough. But in regular campaigns, you know, favor isn't your only power lever. So just because you have all the favor doesn't mean you're going to be able to beat something. You need power from other places. Yorvin's Shadow Mastiff form reminds me of Gary from Donnie Darko. Deep cut reference? I have no idea. You'd have to talk to the people that drew that for me to find out. Roji Bev, none of the event achievements have to be done during the event, right? Well, no. Specifically, these numbered ones have to be done during the event. But the nice thing about this is that it says in any the Simril Spoil Sport free play. So you will always be able to do these when the event rolls around. It's just they'll only be doable in the event. They can be done in any free play. Has to be a free play. These do not work in time gates. All the rest of these for the champion, like well, hold on, that one's rough. Recruit Eldritch Completionist, which is basically doing all 3 variants or getting all the gear or doing all of this. This can be done anywhere. This complete all 3 variants can only be done in a time gate if they're not in an event anymore. Because each time you do a time gate, you'll get one of the variants. So you'll have to do 3 time gates to complete this. But you can get gear out of Electrum chests. You can do the champion specific achievement anywhere at any time. So yeah. So the only thing that needs to be done in an event is these. If it's got this goal number, it has to be done in an event. Has to be done in an event. Let's see, what do we got next? Do I have a link to that gold chart? No, I do not. That was, yeah, that somebody might have that in Discord. You'd have to ask. I don't know. That was a long time ago. I haven't seen it make the rounds lately. Data jacket for Krull's gold find. That's based on with golden rule feat or lucky feat. No, I was just talking. The gold find I just described has virulent strain feats in, which don't affect the gold find at all. Because this, like I said, getting this percentage more gold multiplied by itself is bigger than having a feat in that either goes up 25% or 40%. If you don't have both virulent strain feats, then you're going for gold. Then yes, you would go Venomous Touch, and you would go some kind of gold find, preferably Pilfer, preferably Golden Rule. But ultimately, the most gold, you're going to get more gold by having both virulent strain feats than using the actual gold find feats. Any tip on how to kill all but one with Krull? It usually just happens. I either kill all or just some, and even when I get with few many times, it has no stacks. Okay, so this question is more about how it's partially about Orion the Wise. It's partially about how do you build stacks so that they can transfer. It's not something I can show at this level. It's something you really have to be near a wall to do. But what you do is basically you get to the boss level. Usually you're doing this on a boss level. You get to the boss level you want to do this on. You've got Krull in. You pull out your DPS. And then you just let Krull do Krull things. You just let him spread those plagues everywhere. And you do everything you can to give Krull enough time to get Pilfer, because that's the one you care about for gold find, to get Pilfer on every enemy. Every single enemy. So on a boss level, that's usually 11 enemies, right? The 10 trash mobs and the boss themselves. You want to try to get it on everyone. Whether it's built up to 10 or not doesn't matter. Once you've given them enough time to spread plagues to everyone, that's when you bring your DPS in. And then you cross your fingers, because it's pure RNG in that moment. The DPS could blow everyone up. If they do, you pull the DPS out again, and you do it again. The other thing that could happen is the DPS kills all but one, or all but two, but no plagues transfer. You pull the DPS out, you do it again. Because you keep doing that until you get your 20 stacks. If you're a newer player, 20 is probably, trying to get more than 20 is going to take a very long time. But if you get 20 stacks, hey, farm it. But if you can get 30 or 40, jackpot. Immediately, when that happens, you don't want to have familiars on the field. You don't want to have familiars on ultimates. When that pops and you get 30 or 40 stacks on something, you immediately want to pull your DPS out. Frankly, you want to pull everyone but your tank and Krull out, because you don't want anyone to accidentally hit that thing and blow it up. Because it may have gotten 30 or 40 stacks of pain on it too. In that case, it's going to be dangerous. You might not be able to farm it. You may just get one shot, and in which case you want to put in someone with a lot of gold find. So you prep all those gold find champions first, and then start loading them in like Jarlaxle, and then onward, because Jarlaxle is going to give them the next biggest bonus. And then at some point that thing's probably going to explode. If not, then you get lucky and you get to Azaka farm it. But ideally, you want to let the bud drop to the point where your ultimate attack from Azaka, because that's how you gold farm with Azaka, isn't going to kill that creature. It's something you just have to learn. It takes patience. I've done it on stream before, multiple times. There's some videos. It's in the GG2E Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything playlist on YouTube. And I think there's one called Azaka Make It Rain, and there's another one called Stacks on Stacks on Stacks or something like that, where basically I went in and tried to show how to be patient and develop. The thing that doesn't work anymore in those, though, I'm going to point out, is it used to be that you would put Jim in and turn one enemy into a mimic and then pull Jim out. And then you ultimately all the stacks would transfer to the mimic. That doesn't work anymore. They changed mimics, and mimics just kind of explode. So it just has to be random enemy. Just has to be a random enemy. And it's just RNG on getting. It's complete RNG to get one thing to stick around. But you know it's going to happen because everyone complains about getting that one enemy that just doesn't die. That's actually a good thing for Azaka farming. Zadmer, with Krull, I usually cannot go as high a level as with Ashara. I mean, it depends, but sure. How many levels would 10 versus 20 stacks equal to? Well, 10, you don't... Again, you're not farming a 10... You don't want to farm a 10 stack, generally speaking. If you're going to use Krull and you're going to try to Azaka farm with Krull, you have to shoot for at least 20 stacks. You have to shoot for at least 20 stacks or it's not going to be worth it. If one needs to go 80 levels lower with Krull, is the 20 stacks worth it? It should never be that much. You should never have to go 80 levels lower. Yeah, that's usually not a situation that it ends up being. I don't know that I've ever gone more than 15 or 20 levels lower. But honestly, I mean, it's going to depend on what your favor is. If you have over E30 favor, you're going to push super far with Ashara, and then you should currently, in the current state of the game, you should be switching to click debuff, which is going to let you push further and relies on Krull. And you're going to end up with that single monster anyway. So yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to kind of figure it out. You're going to have to kind of figure it out. You can push hard and try to Azaka farm a 10 stack at a higher level and see what it is, and then drop down to where you can do Krull with a 20 stack or higher. Again, 20 stack's going to be, that may not be worth it where you are with how you have to drop. But a 30 stack or a 40 stack, but you're not going to get those until you have both the feats. Until you get both the feats. So it's just one of those judgment calls you have to learn to make as a player. Does one stack need to be maxed to be able to transfer? No. They just have to have it. All right, I'm going to go back and try to answer. We don't have much time. We go back and try to answer the rest of these questions. Doorbell Streams, what is today's root beer? I don't have one yet. What's for lunch? I don't know. I'm either gonna get pizza or tacos and a burrito. In which case, either one of those, it's probably Barks. That's all people have on tap. So I deal with the fact that it's got a little caffeine. As long as it's early in the day, it's fine. For Mars, do you have a favorite weird formation to play? As in definitely not meta, like a secret DPS or similar. Oh, man. I run Binwin a lot. When I don't need to push super hard or if I'm just starting early on. Lately, I run Binwin a lot. But it's usually in like a speed formation, so it's not like I'm trying to maximize Binwin. I just like that he gets extra credit on chunky things, so it just makes it go faster. But if I can beat things with Binwin, I try to beat things with Binwin. I would say that's the closest to weird formation that I've been lately. Because all my times have either been trying to beat super hard patron variants or doing automated Briv farming. Crownrook, if you've got a member of your regular gold farm team locked by Tiamat, would you use Dahani or Whittle, or is there someone I'm going to think? I mean, you use whatever's going to give you the next biggest gold find bonus. Whittle's not going to help at all. Whittle doesn't have gold find bonus, so that doesn't mean anything at all. There's an argument that if you're using Whittle with Freely, that maybe you're getting more requisition stacks. That could be possible, and if that's all you have to rely on is that RNG, maybe. Falgrim, how to find the best configuration with the champs you have? You get to your wall. What is your wall? It's where you get to a level and you start dying, and no matter and you just can't push past it. And what you do is when you're there, when you've figured out where that level is, that's when you start just trying to swap champions around, move them around, try different options, try different champions, and see if something pushes your wall further. Even if a lot of people still use base DPS, please don't. Look at your bud down here. It's this number. Look at your bud. Bud is going to help you determine if you're going to be able to go further or not. But when you're at your wall, what determines your best formation isn't your base DPS, your running average, or your bud. It's, did you push further or not? So being at your wall is the best way to figure out the best formation for you at the present time. And that's just trial and error. McNeil DJ, for Xerophon's achievement, how can I tell what I have and haven't used his ability on? You can't. It's an unfortunate issue with his achievement. You've just got to try to do it and keep a list. Like I have 5 credit for 5, and I have no idea what 5 they are. Are there any other event general tips? Perhaps opening a retired champion time gate? I don't recommend that at all. That's a thing some people do if they have more tokens than they know what to do with. They'll pop a retired champ time gate and then buy chests from the store with tokens, but that's a huge waste for a newer player. Don't do that, please. Andrew Raven, I was looking at some of Eliwick's guides and her Flames cards seemed to be bug. Is that still the case? I don't know. Because I don't run Eliwick fully all the time because of her RNG nature. I tend to just add her later. Snobberger, you said Krull's now the second best boss killer. What's first? Corazon? Yeah. Corazon's ult. If you put a bunch of pools underneath an enemy boss and then fire Corazon's ult off, there's more of them and it burns for a very long time. I Rock You Love, last question. How do you even look at the bud and understand from it? It fluctuates so much. You hover over this and you look at that number next to hit that says 165 E87. That's not fluctuating. As long as I'm near my wall, that's not fluctuating. I should be doing the same amount of damage every time. So your bud fluctuates, but that's because it's degrading. You don't want to look at that. You want to look at your hit and look at buy and how many seconds ago it was. Like, see, I just reset it. So you're looking at those types of things to determine if you're doing better or not. Your hit should go up if you're doing better. If it doesn't go up and it takes a while and that degradation is many, many, many seconds, you know it got worse and you need to find something else, right? That's how you learn to adjust here. That's going to be our last question for the day. Oh, wait, hold on. One more came in. Cube Mischief, can you open a manual time gate inside of an event? Yes. Yes, of course. You just can't open 2 time gates at a time. But events and time gates are 2 separate things, so you can have both open at the same time. We're going to head out with Warden's Lament song. Next week is the final week of streaming for 2021 for Codename Entertainment. So, show up. Maybe. Tell everybody, and happy holidays, and that you'll see them next year. I will be back for GG2E, the final 2021 GG2E on Friday, and the final tutorial show on Saturday. I got to spend this week studying up on our final topic. So I will see you then. Bye, everybody.
I walk alone across these broken worlds, reflecting back as my life unfolds. I knew my duty, I had my role. I knew my heart's desire, I had it so. Am I locked into this hell? Oh, is this all I'll ever know? No heart, no choice, no road. On the day of morning, my world came crashing down. In chaos I was bound. Caught fire, was the end of the world. All hope was lost, there was no more. My purpose twisted, my mind is not my own. A hunger grows inside.